What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 23 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zerly, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got about a 22-minute episode, and we're going to be trying to bang out the rest of the Pylons. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to pick up right where we left off in yesterday's episode. So pretty much at this point, we're going to do is on the very end, we're going to bring a line going straight back, just like what we did in yesterday's episode. Except on the very tips, goes past this line, this is where we're going to start our curve going upwards. Oh. Of course, this doesn't want to connect. All right, we're in good shape now. Sorry, so we've got the same thing on both sides, and that's a pretty good base to go off of. Now, I do feel that they're a little bit long, which we're going to adjust. But that's going to be funny because when we adjust them, then I feel like they're going to be a little bit too short, and they're still like where they're at when we adjust the length of them. Um, at some point, I think we're actually going to ultimately make them a little bit longer. But today, we're really just going to be focusing on the outline of this thing and then getting it filled in. So we're going to do one up and out with the cut, and we're just going to go straight end to end. All right, we did that side. Let's hop over to the left side. We're going to repeat that same process. All right. So far, so good. I think at this point, we can continue that on and maybe do one or two more and then start to go the upward motion. But this is actually something that I hadn't noticed when I was initially looking at the Enterprise D. It was probably because of the 3D model that I was using, is that this underside, well, not the underside, but the angle of the pylons from the front and back, it really has more of a curve on it than kind of what I'm doing here. And I didn't really notice it until I pulled up screenshots of the Enterprise D from TNG. And I might ultimately end up coming back to reworking the outer shape of them to making it match it a little bit more. Not that there's anything wrong with what I have now. I think what I have now probably matches a little bit closer to how the Enterprise D looks in STO, Star Trek Online. But that's definitely one of the things to think about, because, I mean, at the end of the day, for the Enterprise D, there's been 5 different iterations just on Star Trek The Next Generation between the show and the movie Generations. And then I think that there's even the 6th version of that with Star Trek Online, and there's 7 if you count the remake, because they, I think it was last year or sometime this year that they had basically remade the Galaxy class. So like at this point, like we're up to like 7 different variations of the Galaxy class that they've put out, and it's really just kind of deciding on which one that we want to fall on. I'm really going to try to stay true as much as I can to the original Galaxy class because I think that's the version everybody knows for the most part. Um, but no, kind of what I'm getting at here is that we're definitely the pylons are we're going to mess with them a little bit here and there as we're going. Um, I think we have some decent height. So now that we've got 2 up, we're going to continue that up. And I think I actually just made a mistake right there. I'm going to have to fix that. And I can't believe I didn't notice it. You want to be going up with a pattern of 2, and then we're going to start to go upward. See, on this side, I do it perfect. It's the back left side that I made the mistake on. This is just one of those things that if you're not really paying attention to what you're doing, and even if you are, you can still easily make a mistake. Now, that mistake there is easily, we'll correct that, but no, this is just goes to show pay attention to what you're doing on these ships if you want it to match up, because when you start to make these errors, this is where your ship's going to start to fall apart because you're not paying attention to detail on your ship, and those small details are really what matters. Now it's going to be right here when I realize at this moment that I done messed up. Oh, see, right there. And I zoom back and look down and like, wait a second, what's wrong with this picture? It's because I should have went in a pattern of two going up and then going in one more with a cut, and we would have been in good shape. But that's okay. You can easily fix that. But, some people, they might edit this stuff out. But again, this goes to show even I make mistakes. This is why I follow the rules that I follow. That if we do one thing on one side, we do it on the other so it stays fresh in our minds. Because you are more likely to catch a mistake, just like I did right there, if you do happen to make one. So that's why it's very important. Pay attention to what you're doing. And if you're doing one thing on one side of the ship, do it on the other. Because if you're newer to my channel, this is the first build that you've done and you haven't heard this rule, if you haven't heard me say this, if you think about it like this, if you take your ship and you're looking at it from the front view and you cut it in half, technically you're only building half the ship because you're repeating that same process on the other side. So that's why I say if you do one thing on one side, you do it on the other. So what I'm doing right now is I'm zooming out, taking a look at the ship because I'm trying to match the length that our pylons are coming out, because they shouldn't be coming up to this point. They should be coming a little bit further out, like right around here. So that might be something that we have to address because as we go outward, we don't want them to get stuck behind. But we're going to mess with that as we go. I think we're going to make this a little bit longer at some point. But for today, let's get this done. And right now we're going with the first cut line. We're adding a layer. Or I shouldn't say the first cut line, but the first row out here. We'll do it back here because I kind of clipped it a little bit close in that last part. We're going to be getting rid of a row here. And just off the bottom, we're just going to be doing a white layer of quartz along the frame. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. And this top row here going at the cut, we're going to get rid of that. Don't want to make sure that you don't delete that front row. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. It's going with the outer row, thickening that up by 1. Because the pylons, they shouldn't be super thin, but they also shouldn't be super thick. But some of you notice on the Enterprise D, if you look at it, that it's not that thick. So now that we've added that row of white quartz, we're going to go back and just going at the curved cut, we're going to be getting rid of that white concrete because we're bringing it back by 1. And right at that last one, we're going to stop. We're not going to delete anything once we get down to the flat area. We're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to get rid of this one and everything going up. Okay. So far, so good. Now on the outer side in the front, we're going to add a row of white concrete. Eventually, we're going to make this curve going forward because it's not just going straight up. Right now, we're just kind of trying to get the proportions correct. Um, and we'll work on the curve as we go because they do kind of curve forward in a forward motion. As you can see, I'm kind of messing with that right now, seeing how that's going to go. Best thing to do right here, and I don't think that it dawned on me at this point, would be going a pattern of two. Because see, it's going right here with two. If we do one, it's going to look weird. So if we did it in a pattern of two, progressively going upward, it may not look that bad. I think we're going to have to fix it towards the bottom because now I'm doing it in pattern of two as we get towards the top. I think in the bottom there I did kind of make a little bit of a slight error, but that is more or less what we're going to be doing. You can see right here, these two rows right here, I should be taking a chunk out right there and then a chunk out right there, but that'll give us kind of that swish going forward. It's kind of hard to envision, but really the only thing I'm looking at is the front curve. Not paying attention to any of this solid parts right here, just this front curve and seeing if that matches how the Enterprise D looks. As you can see, I don't like it. I probably could have fixed that if I would have just went down and deleted the rows underneath it, but at this point I'm just kind of getting frustrated because it didn't come out exactly how I wanted it to the first time. That's okay. I'm thinking at this point now I'm just going to have it going a solid 3 cuts instead of the two, and then the two singles, and then the double right there. So we're just going to switch that out. Do the same thing to this front one. See, now I'm starting to think the way I should. Or I'm solving a problem and I'm going in a pattern of twos, what I said that we were going to do. So again, building enough of these ships, you start to think up, you start to remember the different patterns that you've used, and you can use them in an arsenal of different things to try. And that is more or less what we're doing right here. Sometimes a pattern of two works, and I think in this case, it's going to work just fine. Except the top row is going to be three. Well, I'd probably end up just making it a single one up top, just to maintain the pattern of two as much as we can. That doesn't look too bad. So now what we're going to do is just get rid of all the access for now. Even though we're going to come back and fill all this in, I want to do this so we can maintain the shape for the tutorial. You see exactly what we're going to build. It should look just like that. Of course, you want to count this out, how many, so you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a single. Once we've done that, now we can do the same thing on the back. It's the same pattern, and then we'll do the left side. Let me get rid of the access. I have something that looks like that. All right, let's pop over to the left side and we'll repeat that same process. You can see I'm leaving our straight line behind it for now because I'm being lazy, and I'm using that as a guide to know when to stop. Another thing that you can do, which is what technically the right way of what I showed you, is count them out. When you count them out, you can't make a mistake. But you can also leave that guideline there also to help you out to basically um, be kind of like a check your work type deal where if you're not sure, you had that marker to go by. So that's why I'm leaving it also. So counting as we go, but we ultimately at the end of the day, we had that marker to go by so we know when we need to stop, rather than having to do a builder line going straight across to make sure that they match up. We know that this matches up. They're exactly the same dimensions. Add one more up top going forward. So we just add one more row. Do the same thing on this side. Add one more going forward with the cut, and the same thing on the back, but going forward with the cut. I don't know why I deleted that one. I should have just left it. That looks pretty good. It's definitely looking like the Enterprise D, like the progress that we're making so far. She is coming together. Don't know about the height of this, though. We might have to make it a little bit taller than it currently is. And they're a little bit close into the ship. We might have to make them a little bit wider. But even if we do that, that's not necessarily a big deal because our template is done. So we're going to go and fill this one in, make that straight so we don't have an individual literally right behind our builder line. And now we're going to go underneath. You can see I filled that in right there. I probably need to delete that. Or if I will delete it. No, so we're going to be doing going on the bottom part of the outline. We're going to be doing another row of white concrete. Which I think we're actually going to switch out to the quartz. Because pretty much all of this ship we're going to be using the quartz. We're only using the white concrete to stand out. We're going to be using it for accents as we go. But I'm using the white quartz, and some of you will probably say, well, why aren't you using the white concrete? Because that looks a little bit more like the Enterprise D, because Enterprise D is a little bit more gray. And you'd be right. But my main reason for doing that is because I learned this from building the the Disco Era Enterprise, was that with the half slabs, they the white quartz half slabs did not blend in all that well with the white concrete. As at a distance they do. When you get closer, you kind of start to notice that there are two different types of blocks as you go out, or two different colored blocks. So I made the decision early on when I was building this ship that I was going to build it out of quartz, and at that point I'm willing to sacrifice the color just a little bit to make sure that everything blends in better. Which, if you want a clear example of that, just look at the neck and the backbone in comparison to the rest of the ship. It's all the same color and it blends in. And that's what we want. We want it all to blend in. Um, and I honestly don't think that it's going to look bad. To be honest with you, I haven't even had anybody say anything to me about the color of the ship so far, because I really don't think that's an issue. I think that we can get away with it. In a perfect world, I would have done this in the white concrete to give that gray color if I had the gray concrete half slabs, which I'm going to complain about because for whatever reason Mojang doesn't want to add them in. That's okay. On this back row here, we're going to do a row of white concrete, or not the white concrete, the white quartz. We're going to start to fill in this in. And we're just going to do the top side. Obviously, for the sides here, there's no top and bottom like we just did for the bottom part, because for the flat portion of the pylons, the top side is concrete and the bottom side is quartz. We're actually going to start filling all of this in. So I'm going to continue up this whole side here, but when we get down to the sides here, you're only going to be filling in the row with the white concrete. The bottom row with the quartz, you're going to leave that open. So you don't want this bottom part too thick. You're only going to leave it one thick. We are going to come back and fill that in. We're just not going to worry about that right now. Just do it one thick only. And it's just the very top row of the flat portion of the pylon. I'll pause it right here because we're not going to do this live. I'm going to fill this flat portion in off camera. So as you can see all along right here, in between, because we have the two rows. The top row is the white concrete, and the bottom row is the white quartz. We're only going to be filling in this top portion here, going all the way in. And then once you do that, you can do this for both the left side and the right side, and then fill in the two sides like I'm doing right now. We'll be done for the week. But I think we're definitely in pretty good shape. I'm impressed that I've been able to get us to this much of the ship done in the episodes that I've been able to put out so far. But we still have a ton of work to do. We haven't even we still have a little bit more work to do on the pylons. Then we also have some more work to do on the deflector dish. We have to close up we have to build out the engine. So there's some things to do here, but we'll do it step by step, and we'll get there. We're not in a rush to do it, and we'll just take it one episode at a time. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up this week. We've gotten a lot done, and I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. If you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you always get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, you can usually catch my Minecraft videos while always dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend, and I'll catch you on next week's episode.